Hello everybody and welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty and today I am going to be comparing different vellums. Vellum is a paper-like product that is actually transparent or translucent in nature, and it can come in different thicknesses for different levels of transparency and also different sheet sizes. The nice thing about vellum is that it has enough opacity to it to kind of soften and blend things in the background behind it. And so I was looking for a particular thickness of vellum, and when I was shopping online at scrapbook.com, there wasn't enough details. Over time, I acquired every brand that they carry, plus one variety from my local craft store, and I will have all these details in the show notes and at the end of the video. So since I acquired all these vellums to decide which one was right for me, I decided to go ahead and put them through all kinds of tests and share that with you so that you can decide which vellum is right for you. So I'm going to do folding, scoring, heat embossing, dry embossing, printing, so all kinds of tests. Let's go ahead and get started. Now the first test I'm going to put these vellums through is printing. Now one of the vellums is specifically an inkjet print vellum, and some of these vellums were 12 by 12, so I had to cut them down before printing them. And as you see me doing here, when I pull them fresh out of the printer, they all smeared. So know that about vellum. If you want to print on it, you're gonna need to let it dry. And I will at the end of the video show you some timed drying smearing tests. Now translucency is up next, and this is what I wanted out of the vellum. And here I am kind of giving it a flop test to see how thin and floppy the paper is. Now vellum is categorized by weight, like many papers are, but that information wasn't readily available on all the brands on scrapbook.com, and that's why I ended up buying all of them. So I've put them in order here of heaviest weight to the left and lightest weight on the right, and I will have a chart for you at the end of this video listing all of those. So now here's the quality of vellum that I appreciate, and that's this kind of fuzzing of the background. I like the softness that that provides. So the first batch of vellum I did there was the heaviest weight of vellum, and I'm trying to show you how much it kind of blurs that background. And these two are the medium weight vellums, and they were in about the 38 pound category, and the heaviers were in about 48 pounds. And again, I will have charts with official numbers for you and each brand listed. And then this was the lightest weight category, which included that specifically inkjet printed, as well as a couple of other weights. For this portion, I did take all of those punches from each of the papers and lined them up from most opaque to least opaque, kind of going around the corner. So if thickness and opacity is what you're looking for in a vellum, you have kind of a general comparison. Next up, we have punching. I have this circle starburst punch, which has a lot of teeth on it, so it's a bit intricate. So if this is going to snag anywhere, this punch would do the job. But I'm going to just kind of zoom through all of these vellums because they all held up beautifully. They all punched well, and I would assume that die cutting them would go even more smoothly because the die cut machines tend to snag less than punches do. So they all did fine on that test. Next up was scoring, and this was where there was a huge difference. Now, some people like to make cards with vellum or score and fold it for like 3D projects and things like that. If you had a scoring tool, that might have given you better tests. I don't have a scoring tool, so I use the scoring, it's not a blade, but the scoring device on my paper trimmer. And I tried scoring all of these vellums. And this, I started with the lighter weight and I'm working my way up to the heavier weight. And as you can see, my scoring tool tended to crack these papers. And I tried various pressures to see if I could kind of get used to it. And I really had a hard time finding the right pressure to get these lighter weight vellums not to crack. Now, as we move into the medium and heavier weight vellums, I had more success with that. I could add more pressure and keep it from cracking. So that was a good thing. And vellum is kind of nice because you can do this scoring and add like stripes to a piece that will add texture and that opaque quality to projects. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. The other part is, like I said, if you are a card maker and you want to fold vellum for cards, you might have a trouble with that. Once I've played with scoring all the papers, I tried to come up with the best pressure technique for each weight of paper and give it a score, and then try and fold it to get a nice crisp fold. And I'm not going to make you watch all of this because a lot of them just didn't work. The lighter weight ones ended up cracking and breaking. The heavier weight vellums, I had a hard time getting enough pressure so that it would fold nicely in a line, so there was really no point in even scoring it because it didn't even want to follow that line. So in the end, I took my pieces of vellum and I just met them up edge to edge and used a bone folder to fold them that way. And that worked perfectly on all of them. So that is the folding method I would recommend, and only do scoring if you want it for a textural design element. All right, I wanted to go ahead and heat emboss vellum because sometimes the heat from the heat tools can warp vellum. And so I put this to the test and compared it to this cardstock. And you can see there how the cardstock was kind of warped from the heat, but I didn't have any problems with any of these vellums. So as long as you keep your heat source, you know, to the bare minimum, so it just melts your embossing powder, you should be okay with any of these. The next test for this vellum was dry embossing, and I used an embossing folder with my Sizzix embossing machine, and I used the lightest pressure I possibly could, and I chose a folder that I knew would be a tough run for vellum, and of course you saw it all break apart there. Dry embossing might be a challenge on any of these vellums. And next up was the 1 hour smear test. So after I put the vellum through all of these tests, I came back and did a smear test on, and that's why I printed 2 of the hello words on here because I knew I was going to do that. And they all did smear after 1 hour, even the inkjet specific vellum. So you will need to let this sit and dry if you're going to print on vellum. And more than an hour apparently. Now we may be able to speed this along if you have a heat gun, but I didn't think of testing that out, so that's something that I could do in the future. And then I let everything sit overnight for this 24-hour smear test, and again all of them smeared a little bit, and it was less than any other smear test, but they all did smear a little bit. The inkjet paper definitely was the best. And it was a very minimal smear, but it did smear a tiny bit. So I would use it and I would recommend it, but just know that it would need to not be handled a lot, otherwise you are going to end up with issues. Let's wrap up this video with a close-up look at the sample that I played with and experimented with along with its packaging. And here is the one specifically that I purchased at my local craft store. And that way, if you are looking for vellum wherever it is that you shop, and I don't have any association with scrapbook.com, I simply use them for a lot of my shopping. So wherever it is that you shop, you can hopefully have a better chance of finding something that will meet your vellum needs. And so here is the final chart that I compared everything with, and they're listed in order of weight from lowest weight on the left to highest weight and thickest product on the right. And the one product that is grayed out is the one that I purchased at my local craft store. So this chart has a little bit more nuance to it on the qualities of each of those tests that I put it through. In my voiceover, I did just kind of give a general yes or no on some of these categories, but if you're looking for something that maybe is just okay at doing that job, then I've got 3 levels of comparison there. I hope you found this video helpful. I know when I was looking for vellum, I had some questions about some of these products that I was seeing online, and I thought if I had those questions, perhaps other people do too. So I produced this video to possibly answer your questions out there. If I missed something that you were curious about, please drop me a comment because I could always do an update to this video in the future. And if you have any questions on more detail or whatnot on this video, let me know because I would be happy to get back to you. If you found my channel on a general search for vellum, I hope you'll join me in the future for my regular paper crafty videos. I do paper crafts from card making to scrapbooking to product reviews to product play sessions. So if you like this video, I do hope you'll join me next time.